How the heck are you, everybody? My name is Fastidious. Welcome to my channel and welcome to a video for Watcher of Realms. We are going to do an epic lords tier list, and I'm very lucky to be joined by the fantastic IvyLee. You want to say hi, Ivy?
Hello. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you for being here. So without further ado, let's get right on into it. What we're going to do today, we've got 8 epic lords in the game. Ivy and I have taken a lot of time to talk with viewers as well, figure out some rankings. We've ranked on 2 criteria: their lord skills, so what the specific lord thing they do is, combined with, if they weren't a lord, the quality of their entire kit, so that being skills, base stats, awakenings, talents, things like that. And then we've arrived at a final overall ranking. So we're going to start at number 8 and work our way up to number 1.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
So Ivy, do you want to start us off here with number 8 on our list?
Alright, yes, our overall number 8 ranking, we have Aeon of the Watchguard, or Watcher. I love how they have 2 names for things. It confuses me, but
I wanted
it's
to mention that. Like, why? You guys will see when you see the final tier list at the end. Every single one has a different name. So the Cursed Cult becomes Cultist. The Nightmare Council becomes Nightmare. So on and so on. However, please continue, Ivy. Yeah, let's get started.
So, Aeon is one of those login heroes, right? His Lord skill periodically increases damage by 20% and healing multiplier by 20% for 20 seconds. The more faction allies on the team, the more frequently it takes effect. So, decent Lord skill. It's not like the best. It's okay, but it's okay. It's just 20% damage and a healing multiplier. Definitely could have a little bit more, like, I don't know, oomph. But I think the problem is actually when it comes to the Lord skill side of things, there's not a lot of great heroes in this faction, period, to boost. So that's part of the issue for the Lord skill not being the strongest, but his kits. So one thing I do like about Aeon is that he has 2 blocks of like coverage with his range. So you can put him behind a defender and he can help do some extra damage. I love that about him, but just overall, I would say he just doesn't put out enough damage to be a fighter that you would really focus. And he's someone I tend to take to like level 40, 4-star, maybe even promote him to use him early on if you're lacking fighters, but I can't see level 60ing this guy. He does bring a little bit of utility, like his talent, penetration increase is pretty good. It sounds like he should do damage, but I shouldn't say utility. It sounds like he should do damage, but he just kind of doesn't do enough.
You were right on utility, though. Yeah, because he's doing it to the ally in front of him. I would say allies, but...
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah.
Yes, so you can do up to 2 people he can boost. I think you're definitely right that that's probably where he shines the most. I want to quickly shout out his awakening number 1. He can also inflict vulnerability physical damage once you get him there. So I'd say if you want Aeon at his best, you're going to want him at A1. But I'm going to agree with you across the board, Ivy. I really am. I will say the place he really falls short is exactly what you talked about. To make this whole thing work, I mean, these are fine. Increases damage, increasing healing multipliers, but Watcher, or Watchguard, whatever the heck you want to call it, really isn't the greatest. You're not going to have more than 3 or 4 units at a time, so you're not going to get the full effect of that the uptime being significant on that with Aeon. So I think it's a good call, Ivy. I'm totally in agreement. And yeah, guys, so for Aeon, we ranked his Lord skill, as Ivy kind of touched on, as not a very strong one. So we ranked him 7th for Lord skill, and then his kit, it is underwhelming. We ranked it as 7th.
All right, and who's next?
Yeah, so we're going to go over to the Esoteria order, or Esotericist. We're going to keep running into this problem, or at least I will. That's going to be Raiden. So this is actually someone where Ivy and I were on consensus immediately that he was probably the 7th best of the 8. However, we did disagree on where he ranked up in terms of how good his Lord skill was and how good his full kit was. So let's have a chat about it. So here we got Raiden, he's an AoE mage, which to me, if you guys are familiar with me, that jumps off the page, because those things I didn't even know they existed. You know, they seem like they're only myths and rumors. But he's got some cool things going on. So I'll just quickly talk about his Lord skill. We'll start the same way. So I think this is unbelievably underwhelming. So he increases faction allies basic attributes by 10%, the absolute standard that you're going to see on every one of these epic lords, so we don't have to mention that again. But then his special is he reduces faction allies skill costs by 15%. So why do I think this is so weak? Ivy and I have actually ranked him as the 8th weakest lord skill, so the worst epic lord skill. You might think 15% decreased costs, that's really cool. Well, it's only for his faction allies, and it's only 15%. So who are his faction allies? There are some absolute stunners in here, right? We've got Eloin, we've got Comet. These are like some of the best heroes in the game. But after that, I mean, we got Laurel, she's really cool, but there's not so much meat on the bone when it comes to this Esoteria order. These Esotericists are not the greatest thing, so you're very rarely gonna have many people benefiting from this Lord skill, as opposed to Lords we're gonna talk about later on in this video, where you're gonna have teams built all around that whole faction. So I think it's really underwhelming. And if you compare it to his legendary version, Venoma, we won't do this for every hero, but I think it's important here. She does 25%, an extra 10% is significant, but again, that's not why everyone loves Venoma, as amazing as it is. It's really this increased allies rage by 30% on first deployment. That's not faction allies, that's all allies. That's supremely powerful. Your whole team, all 10 people are going to benefit. Where here, the way Raiden is going to end up getting used, unless you're really lucky and you've got maybe a well-built Ezrein along with your Eloin and your Comet and Laurel, it's very rare that many heroes on your squad are going to benefit. Now for the place me and Ivy disagreed, and it kind of makes sense because maybe it's just my jaded free-to-play mindset. My only AoE mage, magic damage mage, is just Osiren. So I look at Raiden, and I actually ranked him all the way up originally as the 3rd best kit. So feel free to go roast me in the comments. But after a conversation with Ivy and trusting her very sound opinion, we have settled that he actually has the 4th best kit. You guys might disagree, or agree with this. I'll just quickly break it down. I think it's really powerful, and I've seen him do some really cool things in the very high levels of Gear Raid 1, so even stage 19, 20, and 21. So he's got AoE damage on the A1, the basic attack. Then he's got this ultimate here, after activated, summons Thunder, that deals AoE damage equal to 100%, and then when it gets skilled up, it can go all the way up to 120%, and that's every 5 seconds, right? So, and it's once every second, so you're gonna get 600%, and then the initial skill cost is gonna go all the way up, where is it, to 300 on deployment, and then the cost is gonna go down to 400. So he's really cheap to just spam this ultimate with some AoE damage. He's also got this Thunder Devour. He can get 5 stacks when you skill him up of this Thunder Spirit, which is going to give him 15% bonus damage. He hits pretty hard, and he's an AoE magic damage dealer. So for me alone, I thought that was enough. Let me know what you think now, Ivy, but I thought that was enough to give him this pretty healthy rating of 4th overall.
Yeah, I think for me, I've always heard people not like him. I've never heard anyone say a good thing about the guy, so I already had a bad opinion. I've personally never I never ran into those people, like you said, that used him in Gear Raid 20 or whatever. That wasn't something I came across. And for me, like the cost of 25, and yeah, it just sounded underwhelming. But when you compare the reality of, yeah, if you don't have many mages to choose from, if you didn't buy the Iona pack, if you didn't pull Comet or Vierna, or even Zealous now, who's also still expensive, like he's actually one of the better options when you break it down just within mages alone. You kind of have to give him a little more love than I probably gave him credit for.
Yeah, I think we had to
at least as a
middle.
damage dealer.
Because yeah, if you do Art Spender, you absolutely have Iona. If you spent any money, you've probably spent those $5. So then it's like, yeah, Iona's better than him. But if you aren't, and you've had bad luck, like I think me and many of my viewers have, it's pretty cool that he's like a serviceable AoE mage, and I've used him in multiple account takeovers on higher stages of Gear Raid 1, and he totally works. So that's pretty great. Shall we move on to the newest edition of this group of lords? Ivy, do you want to take number 6?
Yeah, we have the Chaos Dominion, aka Chaotic, with Vladov here. So this is our PvP focused, more niche faction in the game. So I think we kind of ranked this one 6, 7, like kind of 6 overall, and it kind of makes sense. Like, yes, they're gonna excel very well in Arena, but they might not be the best for other areas of the game. Now this faction bonus is increases faction allies damage based on their HP lost up to 40% at 30% HP. So this is like one of those, the less HP they have, the more damage they do. It's kind of like they are the Chaos Dominion, they thrive upon chaos, literally, that's the whole point. But in the end, you're really not going to be using a whole bunch of Chaos Dominion heroes, because do you have a whole bunch of Chaos Dominion heroes? I highly doubt it.
I have a whopping 0, so.
I have 2. I'm proud. I got lucky with 110 pull. That's probably not the norm though, right?
It's pretty good.
All right, yeah, so him as an individual, he could definitely be used somewhere like Guild Boss. He does bring a bleed, which is quite valuable, especially if he had those Scarlet Hunt accessories. And he's gonna be just fine for Arena. He's got super cheap cost in Arena, placement of 13, that's great. But overall, I know he just doesn't hit as hard. Like, I think you're still gonna use Demos over this guy if you have him. And of course, if you have a better bleed hero like Salazar, you're definitely not using this guy in Guild Boss. But luckily, the one benefit I think with his kit in Guild Boss is Nightmare Faction. He actually does pair with the Nightmare Faction, so he could take advantage of that Lord bonus too. So if you're trying to stock up on those Infernal and Nightmare for your Guild Boss, he could be a okay part of that roster.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys look at his talent here, increases attack speed by 30 for 8 seconds each time after taking damage, up to 5 stacks. You're not going to take damage that frequently in Guild Boss, but he's probably going to be on a Nightmare Faction team, so he'll also get the 35% increase. So Ivy's totally right. That would be pretty significant.
He's all right. Not the best of the options, but he's pretty solid. Okay.
Yeah, I think he's solid. I think, honestly, I think these chaotic guys are kind of wonky. I think they're a little corny. Like, they're very clearly there. You get them by spending money, and they're badass in the arena. For other content, it's so-so. I think you can make them work, but it takes a lot of fiddling. So I think we both kind of settled that. He's not bad at all. I mean, all these lords are pretty good, but he's going to be towards the lower end because of that. Great. So shall I take number 5 on this list, Ivy? What do you say?
Yes, go ahead.
So I think this might be a controversial one because I know this is a very beloved champion, but we are going to get into the cursed cult, or occultist, if you will, and this is going to be Aeon. So this top 5 guys, they're all awesome. We were really nitpicking here, but Aeon is going to be our number 5. We have gone ahead and given her the rating, her full kit at number 6, and then her Lord skill is really powerful. We had it all the way up at number 4. That came out to a nice even number 5. Let's start off with the Lord skill. So we got our basic here, 10% to everybody, but increases faction allies damage dealt to enemies inflicted with stun, freeze, immobilize, or any other crowd control effects. So any CC effects, right? By 20%, and that's just a straight up damage increase. You might think, oh, this is a bit niche. Like, what if you don't have this champion, this champion, this champion to provide crowd control? Well, first off, she does, as you're going to see in a second, but so many of these, if you were looking at the faction here, the Curse Cult, so many of these units provide a similar thing. So she works really well within her own faction, and this is a faction you might have a lot of. I actually only have 4 members from it, and 3 of them are rares, but a lot of people do, and she works supremely well. So that's kind of where we settle at the Lord skill. I think I kind of like it because it's so straightforward. Is there CC? If the answer is yes. Is the ally a member for faction? If the answer is yes, straight up 20% increase. I love to see it. She's got cool talent here as well. Basic attack target count +2. So if we look at the basic attack, it's kind of strange to me. Why not just, I never noticed this. Have you noticed this, Ivy? Why does it say deal to 1 damage, but then you've got a talent +2? Why not just make no talent and then it deals to 3, right?
Yeah, they have some weird wording sometimes.
I never noticed that. I feel like they just wanted to give her a talent, so they kind of got silly with it. Anyway.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's weird, but pretty cool. You can get some extra rage regen attack on that. I think it's a very good basic. Let's go to the ultimate now. This is quite strong. She casts a gravity force dealing 70% AoE damage. You can get this up a bit per second to affected enemies for 4 seconds, but we do not care about damage, guys. I'll show you in a second. Her base stats, especially in terms of damage, are very weak. The force also pulls 8 surrounding enemies towards its center. It's like the center of, like the epicenter of whatever, spectral force she's creating. It drags them in, and it also inflicts slow. That's really crazy. And if you skill this up, you can really increase the duration of that, and it really does kind of immobilize and slow and trap enemies. So it is very powerful in terms of crowd control, and of course crowd control works really well with her Lord skill. Finally, we've got a passive here. This is super important. It's very similar if you guys are familiar with Mari. So you're getting vulnerability as a passive, and physical damage, and vulnerability magic damage. So really, really cool. You can get extra damage taken all the way up to 20%. That is really, really powerful. She's a very good champion. I wish she could have been higher on this list, but a lot of these champions are very, very good champions. You got any more thoughts on this, Ivy?
Yeah, and one other thing, of course she's going to pair well with someone like Iona that also does slow and stuff like you said, but there's also the artifact. Luckily the mages have that artifact that actually allows you to inflict slow, so just a shout out to the mythic artifact. If you have a lord, make sure that mythic artifact is on someone if you have it.
That is so great. See, this is why I need Ivy on my videos, because this is something I don't even think about because I don't have these characters, but I do have that artifact, and I was like, where am I going to use this? So I've just pulled up now the Blue Sea Ice Ring. That's so cool. So you get a 25% chance of slowing, you get increased damage, which is nice, but like what Ivy's saying is it's not just that 10% increased damage you can see at base level that's on your screen now, but if it's paired with Iona, or more likely another cultist from Iona's faction, now they're eligible to get they make all the other faction allies eligible by placing that crowd control effect whenever that artifact triggers. That's such a good point. Wow, that's really cool. I had not thought of that. Okay, now we're going to move on to another source of disagreement between me and Ivy, but I think we reached a very happy ending because Ivy was very, very persuasive, and we're going to talk about Isolde. So you want to take this away, Ivy?
Yeah, I really love Isolde. So she's part of the North Throne, or the Northerner faction. Their faction lord skill periodically grants all allies a shield equal to 20% of their max HP for 20 seconds. And the more faction allies on the team, the more frequently it takes effect. And let's just say, I feel like most of the content I'm doing, my team is half full of Northerner factions, 100%. For PvE at least, except Guild Boss. But I'm always using it. So number one, this is just a great faction full of amazing heroes that can actually benefit from the Lord skill. So that really helps for survivability overall. So for her individually, she's got a lot that helps increase the block of your allies. She's got the passive for, let's see, where is it? Let me look at the right one. I'm like, wrong one. So she grants a shield as well with her passive. So passive, increased block, passive, shield, increased block. She's kind of just all about protection, plus she gives the physical and magic damage reduction as well. She's just so good overall for damage reduction for your team, and that does affect multiple units. I know it's always good to twist her so she has allies on both sides to really take advantage of that. And I use her in everything, and I've been using her since the beginning. The block for her is great of 3, but then when she does her passive or her ultimate, she boosts herself even more, so it becomes 4. That's really strong, and I feel like she's just become one of my tanks that I can use just as much as I would use a Baron, honestly. And that shield really helps, and her awakenings really help as well. Like, getting that Awakening 1 was really nice when we had the Isolde fusion, so that was great just to help increase the shield even more.
Maybe I'm just jaded because I joined late, so I only caught like the last 2 or 3 days of this Isolde fusion, so I wasn't able to get her. But Ivy definitely enlightened me, as well as a couple of my viewers I spoke with, because I didn't realize, like, if we read this ultimate here, it says increases block for every ally in range by 1 and implies these great physical damage and magic damage reductions, right? But then you look at her range here, guys, her attack range. I'll pull it up in hero details so it's easier to see. It's just 1 tile. So I was thinking, so she just affects 1 person, and then if you click her passive, it's just to her left, just to her right. But Ivy told me specifically with the ultimate, and I've confirmed this with viewers too, so Ivy was just dead to rights on this. It's not just the person right in front of her, so her range is like adjacent heroes in the different directions.
Yeah,
so
it's confusing. It's got a little bit of both.
Yeah, I succumb to the confusing wording I often trip up over in this game, but that's why you have people that actually use the champions to tell us about it, and I think Ivy is just, totally right. This is a super powerful champion, and from what I've heard, you can tell me, Ivy, she's really good in Void Rift as well, like later on.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of my favorite places where you really need good block is Artifact Material Raid, because all those enemies start coming at you, and being able to increase your block to just block 1 more enemy is 1 more enemy that's not breaking through to attack your fighter that's busy trying to be distracted at fighting that Salazar. So like, she's perfect to have on the ends, on one of the ends, to protect the fighters, because she's gonna help give everybody a higher block rate.
So that's an excellent point, and you can really use her passive and her ultimate there. I want to say one more thing, and then we'll move on. But she's so cool. I'm like, now I already wanted her, now I really want her. But what Ivy said about the North Throne, this is like the exact opposite of someone like Aeon, right? Where like, to get a better effect, you need more faction members, and it's really hard with Aeon. With North Throne, I'm exactly the same as Ivy, even to the point where I use Dagna, the rare version, even in my guild boss team, like where I was saying you wouldn't even need them, because if you get certain champions, you can see who I have highlighted, Vortex and Nocturne or Lightlock or Midon, Olog. It's like all of a sudden, not to mention these amazing legendaries as well, you can really build out that whole faction, and then all of a sudden the team's humming, right? So I think that's a great point. You made Ivy, and that's why we bumped her up all the way to number 4. And we gave her full kit number 3. I was that convinced. So well done. Okay.
I was like, she doesn't deserve a 7.
You were correct. You're so right. I will say, I did have her at 5 overall. Now she's at 4 overall, but I had her kit way too low. I had her kit at 7. I'll tell you guys that. I'm willing to own the L. Okay, so let's wrap this up with our top 3. I think a lot of people will have predicted this top 3, or at least that these top 3 would be in like our top 4. Let's go over to the Star Piercers. I will take this one. This is the only briefly unique epic lord I ever had on my account. I pulled her, and then 3 days later they announced her fusion, which is great because now we all have her. So Lunaria, she is such a cool champion. Let's pull her up. So she's from the Star Piercers, aka Piercer, and we have gone ahead and given her the ranking. We gave her kit a full kit ranking of 5, a Lord skill of 3 for an overall ranking of 3. So let's start off with the Lord skill. This Lord skill is going to take me 2 seconds to explain. You guys are probably already familiar, but it's as simple as your allies have attack ranges. If they're a Piercer, oh, it's 1 row deeper, and that is all the difference. Anyone that has struggled with Gear Raid 3 and then got Lunaria, you're like, wow, this just got really easy. It is such a simple skill, but it is so insanely powerful. I mean, we ranked that Lord skill as number 3. It's 1 line of text, and that's all you need to know. You don't need any, special fancy things in it. It's just, let's increase everyone's range by 1 line. And this works for everyone, not just your marksman. If we look at the Piercer faction, it's going to work for Livian as a defender. Now she's got that same range that Ivy was talking about, like Aeon had. It's also going to work for someone like Nisandai, a healer. This makes Nisandai way more serviceable. She's okay as an attack-based healer, but now she's a Piercer with Lunaria, super extended. I'm harping on because I love Lunaria. But yeah, her Lord skill's supremely powerful. It's the kind of Lord skill that would be number 1 if our number 1 and 2 weren't as cracked as they are. I think Ivy and I agreed they're in the league of their own. So let's get to those 2 as fast as possible. Let me quickly break down the kit. I will say we only gave Lunaria a kit rating of number 5. I could even see arguments for lower. The big reason I did that is I really think you need her minimum Awaken 1. So you're gonna have to use a Soul Stone or get lucky fusing 2 copies of her. Or I guess not lucky, but be very diligent and have fused 2 copies of her. Or really, I have her at Awaken 3, and that's where she finally started working. So let's very quickly go through the kit. We don't have to go through every little piece. The thing you need to know here, let's look at the talent. With each Dark Moon arrow triggered, you gain 30 rage. So what the heck is a Dark Moon arrow? Well, this is kind of how her whole kit works, is this Dark Moon arrow. So you get 175% magic damage to enemies. What is enemies? Who knows? It's some amount, it's plural. That's pretty cool. Airborne units take more damage. And that's worth noting, guys, because for some reason, she's a Piercer. I think she's the only Piercer in my game. Let me know in the comments, or let me know now, Ivy, if there's another Piercer that does magic damage and not piercing damage. Seems a little counterintuitive since she is a Lord Piercer. But she's not as good against these light armor units that are usually arrow units. However, this Dark Moon arrow makes up for it because airborne units take more damage. Basic attack does a very similar thing. Airborne units are prioritized and take extra damage. I'm assuming whatever that extra damage is, it's not stated here. It probably evens out to like what the bonus of piercing damage would be. And here you go again, guys, in the basic attack. It's a magic attack. Why is it? Who knows? But we got the Dark Moon arrow again. It's got a chance of scaling based on the distance, chance increasing that scales. Chance of triggering that increases scaling based off the distance from the target. So you see, it's 25% chance of triggering. However, I talked about her awakenings, guys. If you get her to awaken 3, that's going to go up to 35% chance. Super important stuff. Then we've got this ultimate. Look at that, Dark Moon arrow again. We don't need to break down every second of it, but basically you're gonna shoot 3 of them now, and again, every time it triggers, we get more rage, and then we go to the passive. Dark Moon arrow marks the enemy 5 times. It's all about the Dark Moon arrow. We got attack speed involved here, rage involved. Basically, her whole kit hums. Oh, excuse me, attack speed. I was like, where is that? It's in the A1, and that's why I said she really needs it. So she increases attack speed by 30 for 6 seconds upon triggering, you guessed it, Dark Moon arrow. So she's got this one unique mechanic with this arrow in her kit, and it needs to all work together. And let me know your experience if you use her much, Ivy. I use her a ton because I don't have many marksmen, and I definitely don't have much magic damage, so she's really good. But for me, it really did take getting this increased attack speed on the Dark Moon arrow, and then especially getting the increased trigger chance on Awaken 3. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think I was a little bit underwhelmed by her actual damage itself but using the Lord skill alone, just making Silas have the range of Maul. You're like, what? Okay, I'll take it. Like, it's great. My main
That's
account
such a good point.
is feeling a lot closer to finally doing the stupid Gary 19. It's been a damn headache. I'm closer and closer every day. I beat it once, just did not 3-star it, and she's the reason for that. That added range really changed it.
Yeah, I think that maybe that's the best way to end this with Lunaria. Like, this extra range is kind of like, without insane gear and insane other champions, without Piercer Lord, you might just not physically be able to beat these high stages like 19 and 20 and 21 of Gear 8-3, let alone like 17 and 18 where I'm stuck right now. So yeah, Lunaria, very cool. Damage a bit underwhelming, but it all works. So the top two, you want to get started on these absolute ringers, the best we got?
Yeah, we got Pyros. All right, coming in for Infernal or Infernal Blast faction. We all love Pyros, and well, he's part of one of the best factions, or the best faction for Guild Boss. So that's where the value really is, honestly. So the faction bonus, when the Lord Pyros casts Destruction Command, all faction allies gain penetration increase for 10 seconds, which ignores 30% of defense and magic resistance. That's huge. Penetration increase ignoring defense is so good, especially for something like the Guild Boss. That's just going to increase everybody's damage on the team, you know, not just him individually. And he is very unique in the sense he's probably maybe one of the only, if not the only, epic lord that's better than the legendary, unless you get an awakening on that legendary. So the reasoning for that, let's go to Pyros' kit here. His passive, he inflicts vulnerability, physical and magic, on enemies, blah, 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 like usual. A very valuable debuff. It lets everybody deal more damage as a support. So not only is he going to be able to pump out some damage himself, but he's going to help your whole team to do more damage. And his legendary counterpart, Twin Fiend, who's amazing, sure, but doesn't get that extra bonus that helps your entire team until he's Awakened 1. So everyone I've heard, whenever Pyros comes up, it's like he's better than Twin Fiend unless Twin Fiend is Awakened 1. And I totally see why when I compare both of them, because he can still pump out some damage too and be good help in Guild Boss or wherever else you need to use him. But I really love that it's kind of about the support too, especially as a Lord. It's like they need to have value for the whole team, not just themselves.
And not just their faction, which is a great thing he does. I will quickly say, guys, you need to put skill ups into Pyros, as you can see here, because you can get this starts at 10%, it's going to go up to 20%, and like you said, like Ivy said, that is so much. Twin Fiend we just saw at A1 is 25%, which is nuts, but then that's an A1 legendary lord, so of course it's nuts. So yeah, not so much more I think to say about Pyros. He's just insane. He does a lot of good things to help himself put out some decent damage, but the best things he does, right, are really going to be in his ultimate here. We don't need to read the whole thing, but we get this skill Focus Fire, where all his faction allies except for healers, so unfortunately no Dolores, can focus channel energy, and he does this big blast of damage, and it slaps against the Guild Boss. Anything else we want to add on him? Actually, can I add something? Look at this, guys. When me and Ivy were researching, I was looking at this. Look at this design here. Ivy, I'm circling on his skirt here, and then I'm going to look at his back on this cape.
So cool, yeah.
But does that remind you of something? It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, he's got the same.
But it's the same thing as the Nightmare Council, not of the Infernal Blast, which is what a weird mistake on their part. Look at that, guys. It's the same design as the final faction we're going to talk about. So pretty good transition, I think. The Nightmare Council, which I guess Pyros...
But Twin Fiend has that thing too. He has it too.
Does he really?
Twin has, yeah, when he has it on his weapon too.
Really? Yeah, but that's, I mean, am I crazy? No, because the Infernal one is like a half moon thing up and down in Infernal.
Yeah, you're right though. It looks like they put the wrong icon for.
I think they
yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a sign that we need to go and talk about our number one. Oh, and I will quickly say, guys, so Pyros, we did give him number one Lord skill. We agreed that Lord skill's nasty, and we gave him number two kit because he does do a lot of things himself and a lot of great support things that Ivy spoke about. But number one, believe it or not, a free champion 2 weeks into the game is going to be rad. Maybe I'll start this one off, Ivy, and you can finish it. You got him today on your free-to-play account?
Oh, for my free-to-play, it's Wrath Day.
Let's plug Ivy's free-to-play. She's doing such a cool thing. She's doing free-to-play 1 hour a day. I am too grindy to do something like that.
Shh.
Tell anyone.
I changed it to 2 hours a day.
So we've got Wrath. And wow, what a treat you get 2 weeks in. Everyone made me look forward to it, and when it finally came, it was totally worth it. This guy, through and through, is really, really, really... basically legendary champion. If anyone saw the video I put out with Beard Energy Gaming where we did the legendaries in disguise, people were like, why no Wrath? Because we had made a decision, no Lords, which is kind of the reason why we're making this video now, Ivy and I. But if we had, this is the best epic in the game. I think he's so nasty. So let's get right into the Lord skill. You guys are probably familiar because we all have him after playing 2 weeks. Every time a faction ally is deployed, all deployed faction allies gain 5%, 10%, 20%, or 35%, and that is respective to the number of allies deployed. So if it's just 1, it's 5%, and if it's up to 4 or more, you get that 35% increase in attack speed. That is not 35 points of attack speed, that is percent based on how much you've built. That is disgusting. He also has a negative because this is so overpowered. That healing effects received by those faction allies are reduced by 20%, but if you build the team right, you won't even mind. Lots of Nightmare guys do have some heals built in, just like Wrath, as you'll see in a second when we talk about his awakenings, but that Lord skill is super, super strong. Ivy and I settled on it being second to Pyros, just because what Pyros does is so insanely powerful and unique to Guild Boss, which is such an important piece of the game, and kind of without him or without Twin Fiend, you might stagnate a bit in how much you could potentially push in Guild Boss. But I think for a lot of people with their endgame teams, maybe you even have this, Ivy, so let me know right now, but I think they have a Pyros team or a Twin Fiend team, so an Infernal team, and then they've got a Nightmare team. Is that what you run?
Yeah, I am 100% Nightmare and Infernal now for my Guild Boss, finally. It's exciting. I was like, I finally did it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that they give us him. So we don't have to break down too much because I think everyone knows it, and you guys probably all expected him or Pyros to be number 1. Let's just click him to max level. These base stats are legendary base stats. I'll just quickly click on Valkyria after this, but you can see he has almost 22,000 HP. He has almost 5,000 attack. Now let's go to fighters and look at some legendary fighters. So I know Valkyria has bad base stats, so we'll just click on her. 18,000 and 4,300. So he really blows her out of the water, and he's just some random, I guess not random because he's a Lord, but he's just some epic guy, and he can do all that. It's crazy. And yes, his kit's amazing, as we're going to see, but what really makes him amazing is you get him so early, and for a lot of us, he's going to be your best base stat champion, and we're not going to have that good gear, so he's so easy to build. I know that's kind of an extra consideration to take because it's kind of like circumstance, but he's so good. So we got a basic damage here. He does normal damage, guys. The ultimate, it auto casts when you skill him up, and of course you will skill him up. It's only 300 costs. When activated, damage dealt increases by 30% for 30 seconds, during which time he deals 90% AoE up to 5 enemies every 3 attacks. That's super good. He's got this nice passive. The next attack deals 60% additional damage every 4 attacks, and this also gets boosted in Awakening, as I'll show you guys in a second. So yeah, actually let's talk about it. First we gotta do the talent. He gets a base crit rate. Again, he's so easy to build. His base stats are through the roof, and his talent gives himself a base crit rate of 15%. I'm not sure, interrupt me if I'm wrong, I don't know if there's any other characters, certainly not epics, that have this base crit rate without Awakenings above 0. And then this crit has a 20% chance to be a double attack. So not only you're critting, but you're double critting, so it's like a super crit. And I know we haven't talked about Awakenings for every champion, but we will for him. Here's what I said before, that Awakening 1 super good. That Soul Basher guarantees a crit all of a sudden, so every 4 attacks you got a guaranteed crit, some crit damage on IT, whatever. He got some burning now, some dot damage, amazing for Guild Boss or any big bosses in the game, any tanky enemies. A little penetration, never hurt anyone on the A4, and then A5, what everyone waits for, day 44. Maybe I'll let you pick this up because I'm not at day 44 yet, Ivy, but how good is Wrath at A5?
It's so good, and I mean, just being able to self-sustain a bit more. Although honestly, I've heard a lot of critique about people being like, if you don't have many fighters, you shouldn't wait till day 45 or 44, whatever it is. I'm like, but it's worth waiting. I don't want to waste that soul stone I get for free. I don't want to put an epic one that could go into another Lord or someone else. I thought it was worth waiting. I used Wrath to Awaken 3 up until day 44 when I got the Awaken 5 Soul Stone. Then I put in the Awaken 4 and the Awaken 5, and I thought it was worth the wait. He still stayed alive just fine, but now it's just even easier. Now it's like the harder, as you push through harder content, now he could, I could have him handle a lane on his own in some of those tricky boards where you want like just to throw a fighter down into the corner. He did that at Awaken 3, but he does it at higher stages for Awaken 5.
Well, guys, I'm on day 43, so tomorrow I will get him awakened. We'll get to day 44 and get him awakened 5. It's pretty exciting. But just like I said, with that huge base HP, he's going to be just fine without it. However, I do want to speak for the unlucky people. If you're really unlucky and you don't have some of these people that you're seeing on my account, like Arrogance or Abomination, but even, actually, those are the only really amazing pulls I've had in terms of fighters. Or, excuse me, I also have Deimos. Am I crazy? Or Deimos, where's he hiding? Down there. They put him all the way at the bottom. So yeah, I've been super lucky.
I got him on my free-to-play too.
There you go. He's a legendary. He's amazing. However, just like if you've been really unlucky, you don't need to worry about doing it early. But just know, like what Ivy said, on day 44, you're gonna get a epic soulstone with Wrath's little silhouette in it, and it will never be used on anything. So that's something you're gonna have to be willing to stomach. But if you're desperate, power to you. No judgment at all, because it's easy for Ivy and I to say, with both getting Deimos free to play, it's easy to wait in that situation. All right, Ivy, I think that's our list, right? Let me pull up the graphic that we made, so you guys can just see everything. This will be available on my Discord, or so my Fast and Fastidious Discord, or you can just DM me directly, and I'll give you the HD copy. I'll just take my head away for a second in case anyone wants to take a screenshot. Where's my head? Let's get that guy out of the way. There you go, and you can see that's the full breakdown with the Lord skills, then the full kits, and then our kind of consensus overall rankings. Thank you so much, Ivy. This video ran a little long, but I think we had a lot of fun talking about these Lords. Any final thoughts you want to add?
I think it's just important for people to understand the value of the Lords too. Like, you might be like, it's just an epic, but it goes so far for so many of these heroes. It really does. And I think even if the character themselves you don't have the time to build, just throwing them in for their Lord skill can be game-changing. Just like the example with our final guy, Wrath. You throw him into Guild Boss, even if you're not using four Nightmare units, place them in, recall them, and you still get the bonus on your Wrath, for example. That's like a fun little cheese. There's so much you can do to take advantage of these Lord skills, and that's like a fun one. Yeah, it's a fun little cheese. But yeah, I think they're more game-changing than I think people probably realize.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to make a follow-up talking about all the cheesy little things you can do. But I think we'll wrap it up here. And yeah, I guess that's something I wanted to lead off with. These Lords are so powerful. These epic Lords, it's such a step up from the rare Lords. Like, I use Dagna in so much content. She's the rare Lord from North Throne. You saw how good Ivy proved to us Isolde is. So imagine if Dagna, I never use her, right? She literally just sits there as a Lord. Imagine if all of a sudden you have a good kit and an amazing skill in the same person. It's a big boon to your account. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, IvyLee. Hope to see you again soon. I really appreciate you coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ivy. Guys, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.
Fastidious.